After thoroughly examining the saucers near Kerbin's North Pole and the Mun's South Pole, Communist forces have begun constructing their own design inspired by the fascists. For now, the Communist design remains inoperable. How will the Central Kerbin Alliance Network respond to this new threat? I am Echo 3, and let's continue discussing the Cold War. While the Alliance considers how to respond to the Communists, the United Nations has asked for its help. The Alliance has also decided to continue exploring Eve. The Secretary General wants flight operations to assist the United Nations by providing our expertise and resources in some of their endeavors. This will be a huge boost for the program. This flight needs to pick up the United Nations liaison and bring him back to the Space Center. It looks like the Dununda airport has really let nature take over. It looks like the new version of Parallax doesn't account for the different bases from Kerbin Remastered. Upon arriving to the airport, the aide disembarks to help assist the United Nations liaison, who for some reason was waiting up in a billboard. The aide and the liaison enter the plane, buckle the seatbelts, and they prepare for takeoff. The pilot must navigate through the trees in order to taxi to the runway, where he can take off and head back to the Space Center. Hopefully, by helping the United Nations, the Alliance will gain a public relations edge over the Communists. Transflight, we have you on approach. You are cleared for landing. On touchdown, proceed to the indicated airport terminal for passenger deplaning. Directions have been transmitted to you. Now that the airspace is clear, it is safe to launch the new Eve exploration vehicle. The aim of this mission is to fly by Gilly, then put the probe into a polar orbit around Eve. There are still about 90 days left before the transfer window, so this probe will wait in orbit around Kerbin until the time is right. This probe includes a full suite of ScanSat equipment and a relay dish. The relay will assist in subsequent missions to the Purple Planet. Last evening, Didi and Jebediah began arguing about who was the better pilot. To prove his mettle, Jebediah intends to barnstorm the island airfield hangars and the bridges of the R&D building. And because Jebediah is not an idiot, he is using his personal aircraft for this stunt. His biplane is actually a very good choice because it has a very low stall speed. This should give Jebediah plenty of time to react as he navigates these tight turns. After easily navigating the first bridge, Jebediah turns his plane towards the small bridge. Jebediah doesn't even hesitate to fly right underneath it. After overcoming the first two obstacles, Jebediah heads straight to the island airfield. There at the airfield, he intends to fly through both of the hangars. As Jebediah flies over the water, he would like to remind everyone that is watching to remember to activate their like buttons. In the comment section below, you are very welcome to tell Jebediah what you think about his flying. You are also very welcome to leave suggestions for what you think should happen next in this series. After discovering the saucer that the Communists are constructing, the Alliance must decide on their next step. Will they need to perform some kind of first strike to prevent the Communists from completing this new superweapon? Or are there other options, perhaps even a diplomatic solution? Perhaps some kind of covert operation can put the Communists years back on their research. Jebediah safely flies through the first hangar, blissfully clueless about the discussions happening at Alliance headquarters. Maybe intelligence personnel or scientists at the research and development facility will give the Alliance a big break. But how long can they wait? Jebediah banks to his right, preparing to fly through the second hangar. And with pure grace, Jebediah flies through the second hangar. After this stunt, what will his commanders think? Will Jebediah be applauded for his skill or reprimanded for his recklessness? As Jebediah flies towards the Space Center, word has just come in that the Alliance has caught a huge break. A Communist aircraft carrying highly experimental technology has crashed near the desert coast. The device itself was flung some distance from the wreckage. Now, the Alliance is considering sending in a crack team to fly over and examine this piece of experimental technology. This is going to be a very dangerous mission that will require the best crew, including the best pilot. As Jebediah lands his plane on the runway, he has no clue that he has already been selected for his next assignment. And he will need to work with veteran pilot Didi Kerbin. Together, they will need to penetrate the Communist defenses to complete the mission. In order to avoid suspicion as long as possible, the crew will be flying in this modified passenger aircraft. 2 hardpoints are mounted to the wings, and 2 brand new experimental heat-seeking missiles are installed. Engineers are confident that this never-tested missile will work just fine. Jebediah and Didi will fly the aircraft, while experienced engineer Burberry will be the mission specialist. Burberry will be in charge of examining the Communist device. As the crew approaches the Communist coastline, it is evident that the Communists have a welcoming party ready for them. The Alliance jet is met with a hail of gunfire, but Jebediah and Didi work feverishly to maintain position on the enemy aircraft. Jebediah and Didi line up, and Fox 2, the new missile, doesn't appear to be tracking. With no confidence in their weapons, the crew must focus on survival. The Communist MiG-19 may not be their latest and greatest design, but it is still a formidable match for a transport aircraft. Although Jebediah and Didi's weapons don't appear to be working, the enemy doesn't know that and must fly very defensively. If the crew is able to survive this mission, they will definitely have a few words with the engineers that sent them out with this untested new technology. To their left on the ground is the Communist device. Burberry would like them to land and make an attempt to examine it, but the Communist MiG still has ammo and discourages the crew from landing. Jebediah and Didi pull up and attempt to relocate the enemy fighter. It's behind them, and now it's heading away. Something happened. The Communist fighter has lost speed. It appears that the MiG-19 has had some kind of engine trouble. The pilot has had to put it down in the desert. This is just the break that the crew needed. They will quickly land next to the Communist device and hopefully complete their mission before any reinforcements show up. Jebediah steers the plane right up next to this piece of experimental technology. Burberry disembarks and heads over to it. It's some kind of experimental engine technology that relies on magnetism. This is probably what the Communists have been calling their Kraken drive. This is what they intend to put into their saucer. This probably explains even how the fascists were able to send a saucer all the way to the Mun. Burberry records as many details as he can about the device. Maybe the Alliance will even be able to replicate it. Or perhaps there's some very good reason why both of the fascist saucers crashed. I am Echo 3, and thanks for joining me on this discussion about the Cold War. I will see you next time.